whom I first met in Thessaloniki when I was a university student. A circle closed there. The circle of life opened. Luke became a very famous person, a famous author, a famous teacher trainer, a famous everything. And I came to Crete, and I'm now in this position, in this post, organizing this circle of events. So I'm so very happy to have him again in this circle. I embrace him, I love him, I welcome him, and the floor is his.
Thank you, Eleni. Thank you very much.
Mute your microphones and enjoy.
Thank you very much, Eleni. Thank you. Welcome. And thank you very much, particularly to Eleni for her nice words. I've known her now, as she says, for nearly 50 years. But anyway, and we're still here. That's the wonderful thing. And after this very difficult school year, in society generally, of course, but for many of us as teachers, it's been a challenging year. And we'll look at some of the aspects of that year and why it was a difficult year, and perhaps the opportunities also that it gave us to do things in class to motivate learners to get their attention, which is what this is all about. And without further ado, as you can see, I have a picture here, and I just want to test that you can hear me. What can you see in the picture? And you can see me, you can see the screen. Look at this picture of your presenter today. What do you notice? Anything about the picture? You can see my nose, you see my nose, my red nose. Exactly, and red nose, I suppose, that's Nick, thank you. Kaya, Maria, we can see the roses. Thank you. Well, this is, I'm just testing the equipment. You can obviously hear me and see me, and I can see the chat box, which is going to be very important because this is an interactive session. So the red nose is comedy. The red nose is humor. And we'll be talking about the different aspects of humor in our teaching. And this is from a performance. And one way, if you like, in which we can introduce humor into the classroom, as I have done over the years, is to perform with the students, perform comic sketches. And we can mention this as one of the many techniques which are available to us, performing as teachers, but students performing too. So that's where the picture comes from. Let's see if my PowerPoint is working now. I'll be asking you to take part, as I said. So when you see a question, this means I would like you to respond, to interact with me. It's an interactive session. So for example, I'm going to show you now my lesson plan, because lesson plans are not very funny. They're very serious, and they have an enormous effect on the learner's motivation. When the learners can see that you have a plan, they tend to behave a little bit better, because a sense of direction, a sense of purpose helps us to keep the students on board, to get their attention and to keep their attention. So here's my lesson plan for today. Let me just move the chat box over here so it doesn't get in the way. And you can see what I'm planning to do in this next 1.5 hours or so. If you want to switch off your video, Eleni, you can. Eleni, I can see you. I don't know if you want everybody to see you. Perhaps you would like to switch off your own video, Eleni. Eleni? That's it, lovely. Okay, so we'll introduce each other to begin with. Like all good lessons, we need to know each other, you and me, today. How many of us are there? Let me just see. There's about 70 of us already. And then we'll move on to teaching PC. Now, just to check that the chat is working and you're interacting and willing to interact, what do you think PC stands for? We'll be teaching PC, personal contact, says Zafi. Good morning, Zafi from Athens. Personal contact, teaching with personal contact. It's certainly relevant. Yes, indeed. Political correctness, one of my favorite topics, one of my favorite bugbears, political correctness. No comments. Well, I'll let you know in a minute, but I just want to encourage you, Afro Guri, from Larissa. Personal computer, definitely. This year it has been very much about personal computers, teaching online, pupil collaboration. Oh my God, there's so many ways in which we can interpret this little acronym PC. So we'll be looking at, as I've said in my blurb, good language teachers. What are good language teachers? Teachers with personal courage, as Afro says. Well, we'll look at some of the research very briefly and where humor fits into the research. Personal development, Tamar, absolutely. Teachers, good teachers, continue to develop. They're constantly in a state of becoming rather than being. So we'll come back to this good language teachers, and then we'll get on with the nitty-gritty, as we say, of the session today. Techniques for teaching grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, particularly lexical chunks and idioms, jokes, cartoons, anything which can introduce humor into the classroom. These are techniques, but you know, before we go any further, you can have humor simply in the way you manage your classroom. In classroom management, the use of voice, the way you relate to the students, we mustn't forget this. But I'll be focusing on particular techniques that we can try in the classroom or adapt to our own circumstances. So we'll end with cartoons and some video clips. My friend Nick Michelidakis might not be with us by then, but he's a specialist in the use of comedy video clips for the classroom, and that's how we'll end with video clips. Okay, so that's the plan. Let's see how we get on. You're all still there, I hope, still awake. Sip your coffee, thank you. Yes, Nick. Let's go on. Where do we go from here? Yes, I'd like to find out a little bit about you. Okay, now there are 10 different ways of being humorous here. Think about yourself. Think about humor in your profile, your life, your character. For example, are you good at telling jokes? You write number 1 in the chat box. Okay, and I'll see your name, and if you can recommend a funny film, because I love amusing films that make us laugh. We need them in these gloomy days. That would be number 2. Do you make your friends laugh? Are you that kind of person? Write number 3. So I'm looking at the chat box. I can't see you. Have a look at the chart. There are 10 options. Can you do funny voices? That's the last one. It's great if you're a teacher who can do funny voices. Nick, thank you. He's a very versatile teacher. He's got lots of different ways of being humorous. Maria, funny voices. Zafi, very good. Smiles a lot. Do you smile a lot? Come on, everybody should be able to write number 9. I can't see you now. Do you know how to use the chat box? I can see 2 or 3 people using their chat box. If you think I'm going to have a monologue today, you're very much mistaken. I'll only proceed when I see you joining in, like good students. That's bravo, bravo, Maria Furuzoglu, thank you very much. Like, are you ironic? British humor is notoriously ironic, number 5. You like witty humor, Oscar Wilde, wonderful witty humor. So this is about you. I can see that you do have a sense of humor. The question is, how do we deploy this humor in the classroom? So I've given you an idea of the possibilities. And as you can see, it's not just a question of telling jokes, and I have an idea about you now and who you are. Thank you very much, and that you're taking part. About me, let me introduce me just in case you don't know me. But these are also ways in which we can introduce ourselves to a new class using humor. So how am I going to, oh yes, some pictures here. Well, you know a lot of things about me, but you perhaps don't know what my hobby is. Here are 4 pictures, 1 or 2 of which may represent my hobby. There's the first one, A, what's this, skydiving, whatever it's called, bungee jumping, whatever. B, playing the bouzouki. That's a famous Greek instrument for those who are not from Greece. Traditional Greek dancing, that's not me in the picture. That's my good friend, Prince Charles. Some of you will know that I was once invited to Buckingham Palace I didn't go, but I got the invitation. So Prince Charles had to manage without me. That is Prince Charles dancing Greek dances. I think he must be in Crete there. And finally, there's a picture of a butterfly. So, which is my hobby, everybody? A, B, C, or D? I want to see you using your chat. A, some people think I do bungee jumping, whatever, or skydiving. D, taking pictures of butterflies, collecting butterflies. That's good. Well, well, well. Let me give you a clue then. Let me put you out of your misery. Now, the clue is in the form of yet another question. So I hope you're ready to interact here. I'm going to show you a picture of myself, but there are two other people in the picture. Which one is me in the picture? The one on the left, the one on the right, or the one in the middle? And you can have students, of course, introducing themselves using pictures, photographs of different kinds. So there we are. There I am. Can you see me? You could write the word left, right, middle. Who am I? The one on the right, is that my bottom? The one on the left, is that my bottom? Well, 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 you obviously don't know me very well, do you? Because you don't know what my bottom looks like. You see, there must always be an element of mystery. They're all good teachers keep something behind. So in the middle, they say. Well, thank you very much for your participation. My friends in Tbilisi don't know, so they are being honest at least. It's a guessing game. It's not a question of I don't know. I mean, it's not a test. It doesn't matter if you get it wrong. But I'm the one in the middle. So I didn't take this photo. Somebody else obviously took the photo because that's me pretending to do Greek dances. There was a time when I was quite competent, not very good, but it was one of my hobbies. But those of you who said butterflies, that's a recent acquisition of mine. I also like learning about butterflies and caring about butterflies as well. So, but that is, if you like, the last few years till recently, I was having Greek dances, the classes in traditional Greek dances. And it's great fun if you can do it. Another question, which one am I? The one on the left, the right, or in the middle? Are you ready for the next question? Remember, it's not a test. You can guess. I'm not going to punish you. I'm not going to give you any marks. Testing is over, although tests can be humorous. That's another question. Here I am. Now, which one am I? Which is the gorgeous one here? The one on the left? Is that me? At about, I don't know, right, middle? Maria Partheniadis says I'm the one in the middle. Some people say I'm the one on the right. How interesting. The tall one, right, the one in the middle. Well, this is a crucial stage in my development. Is that Charles on the right? No, those are my two brothers. I'm number 3. So you can guess if I'm the third son in our family, that makes me probably the one in the middle. There I am. And I suppose a lot of what I say today goes back to what a naughty little boy I was when I was the middle of the pack, as Costa says. I was in the middle. I was squashed between my two other brothers in many ways. My brother on the right, Andrew, Andreas, and Mick, Michael on the left. But that's me. So now you know about me, and we'll come back to me at that age. Or more questions. Now, a more difficult one. This is for the advanced learners here. Let's see how many of you can get this one right. Which one am I? The one on the left or the one on the right? You see, you're learning lexical chunks already. On the left, on the right. They look easy, but students often get them wrong. Have a good look at this picture. It's not as easy as it looks. Okay. Am I the one on the left or the right? Right, right, right. How dare you? How dare you suggest that to me? On the left, that's more like it. Yes, I like the young man on the left. He's very handsome. And he looks like me, they tell me. You're a bit divided as to which one I am. Yes, it's one of those amusing pictures which you can produce with your smartphone and have a lot of fun talking about yourselves and smiling at the same time. I'm actually the one, of course. It's not my mother, that's me. That's me. This is an app, as you call it, Sunny Kavadam. It's an app that changes your face and That's me anyway, on the right, with one of my sons, the handsome Michael, Michalis. So there you go. So you know a lot about me now already. Let me just get this out of the way. What's this doing here? Okay. So let's come back to our situation in the here and now. I know a little bit about you, your relationship to humor. You know a little bit about me and my terrible sense of humor. And now let's go to teaching PC, which in today's context is post-COVID. My focus is there's consequences, if you like, and the implications and all the things we've learned from teaching in this pandemic era or era, as the Americans say, the pandemic era. This has been an era in many ways, but the pandemic era in British English means that we have learned a lot about our learners, about teaching and motivation, the role of online learning, its impact, its advantages, its disadvantages. We've all been immersed for the whole year. So now we should be wiser. After such knowledge, what forgiveness? Let's see. A cartoon. And a question for you. Yes or no? In the chat box, have you ever felt like this during this last year of online learning? Yes. Can't you do anything right? Our relationship with technology. I know some of you are very good. My friend Nick Mihalidakis is very good with technology, and he always comes to my rescue when I feel like this. I don't know, I'm a dinosaur. I was born in I won't tell you anyway, a long time ago, long before computers. So I'm a digital immigrant, and I'm very insecure with computers. So I keep saying, can you see the chat box? Can you use the chat box? Oh, I can't see you. Where are you? Mute yourselves, trying to become digital natives, Tamara. We're trying. We're immigrants. We're all immigrants. Bloody foreigners, as George Moustaki says. So this is it, our feeling of insecurity. Some of us, we older members of the teaching profession, have struggled with computers right from the very beginning. But we're learning, but my repertoire is still incredibly limited. And this is one of the implications of what's happened in this last year. Some of us have developed and become more confident with computers, and the more we know, the better, of course. And we've learned to make value judgments about the pedagogic and human implications of online learning. But anyway, so this is a problem which may have been an opportunity as well. Have you ever said something like A or B to your students? I'm going to show you another picture now. Somebody says, can you hear me? I think it was heard a lot. Yes, well, thank you very much for that, Maria, because what I've got here is similar to what you've just said. A cartoon which some of you may have seen this last year. I'm not sure whether you all teach in at secondary level or adults or elementary. They're two different kettles of fish, as we say, teaching elementary and teaching secondary. So you would write A or B here if this is your situation, or you can write both if you teach at both elementary and high school. But I've been involved in online learning one way or the other this year, and I can confirm this cartoon is very accurate. With the young ones, the little ones, who aren't really suited to online learning. They need a Montessorian, a very physical way of learning where they're connected with nature and they use their body and interact. I'm sure you would agree that for elementary level, primary and the young kids, learning online isn't really the most appropriate way to learn. And I'm sure Montessori would agree, and all these great educators. With the secondary school level, you would expect them to take to online learning like, fish in water, but sometimes it's very difficult to get them to say anything. Some students, we've noticed this last year, who were quiet in class, have become more eloquent online, which is very interesting to think about why that should be the case. The online learning has given a voice to students who had been silenced before, and others just remain quiet, and you can't get them to say anything, and they, of course, misbehave in all kinds of ways. New forms of discipline problems, Karya. of course, which is not our subject today, but it's in the background of everything I say. Everything we say, whether we're talking about teaching vocabulary, teaching the skills, or teaching with humor or whatever, has to do with discipline, with getting students' attention and keeping it. Even adults, you have to get their attention and keep it as well. There are lots of different ways in which we can do this. So this is what digital learning has begun to teach us about learners and their deeper attitudes to us, to the educational system. And I call some of the negative consequences the collateral damage of digital learning, not only this last year, but as a revolution in our lives, and it is a revolution. Technology has enormous implications for our cognitive capacities, for cognitive development, and the way we relate to each other. I think this goes without saying. It's not the main subject today, but I'll just give you an example. Let me see if you can identify the problem here. Here's one of the cartoons that cropped up this last year. What is the problem? Anyone following me on Twitter, says the student to the teacher, already knows what I did this past summer. Now, it's just an example, whether they use Twitter or not, but what is it implying about students' involvement in classes, students' attitude to learning? How do they learn? In what way has digital technology affected their attitude to traditional education? Messy communication, refusing to narrate. Now, narrate suggests to me, Maria Godivan, an extensive use of language where you have long turns, as we say. In speaking, in this case, or in writing, we often give them compositions to write of what you did this past summer. This is a traditional task. The students nowadays, they're not used to writing extensively or even speaking extensively. They kind of get all buttoned up and don't say much. So digital technology has kind of truncated, fragmented communication. We could talk about this till the cows come home, but yes, short texts are the result of social networking platforms which encourage short, brief texts. And this is not what we want if we want to encourage language acquisition. Language acquisition means being exposed to extensive examples of the language, and of course producing eventually examples of the language yourself, whether in speaking or here in reading. So we could say the same thing about reading. And one obvious collateral damage of digital technology is, on the whole, it discourages extensive reading. It discourages personal engagement with a long text. So you try getting students to read and do projects, I'm sure you do very successfully. But these are some of the challenges we face. We're competing with technology, and we must find ways of attracting students to the way we do things in class, as well as, of course, making the most of the opportunities that technology gives us. So these are some of the problems. Okay, tragically true, says somebody. You seem to agree. So let's go into a classroom now. Let's look at a cartoon. And your question, as you look at the cartoon, is why do you think this pupil wants to be excused from the lesson? Are you ready? There you are. Why does this little boy, a rather large boy, as you can see, a small head, very tiny head, beautiful cartoon in a way, very eloquent. And there's the teacher. Why does the student, why would our students say to us, can I be excused, Miss, Sir, if they are so polite? Why would they? They want to post something on Facebook. Perhaps, indeed. I like that, Maria. They want to check their messages. They want to do something on the internet, thinking he's not clever enough, perhaps. And if a teacher makes a student feel that they're not clever, he's obviously failing, or she. He's out of place, he's bored. Yeah, bored, I like that, because if you look at the teacher's name, it has the word bore in the middle somewhere. You can see Mr. Osborne, So the teacher is probably being boring. So the student wants to get out. He wants to be excused. He's had enough of this lesson. But what specifically has the teacher done wrong? Well, the student goes on to say, my brain is full. So is this too much information? Can't process so much information. We must learn perhaps to speak less and let them do more. So this is one problem that this teacher has, and could make him a better teacher if he thought of why the student has lost interest, or why the student feels he's been stuffed with too much information. Well, think about your good teachers now before we look at some research into good language teaching. Bring a good teacher to mind, anyone from any subject, and write a word like Aphrodite. Afro has written caring. The good teacher was caring. Your good teacher. One thing that describes your best teacher ever: smiling, caring, passionate, understanding. Now, as you're writing away, I'll have a little sip of water here. Open-minded, creative, empathetic, knowing how students feel. Fascinating, teaching with humor. Well, we're going to look briefly at some real teachers and some fictional teachers, and we'll look at a little bit of research which relates to our subject today. Thank you for joining in. For example, she knew her subject well. This is basic, but it's not the most important thing. You can know a little bit about a subject and make a little bit go a long way. That's the secret, perhaps. But thank you, patient and inspiring Maria Papanayotou. Oh, we have a little video clip. You've been such a good class. I'm going to give you a break now from my voice, and we'll look at two clips, two films, very briefly. And these two teachers, they happen to be men. I apologize for that. I could have chosen women, but these are more appropriate for what I want to illustrate today. Two very short clips from films about teaching. And what I want you to do, your task is to watch the clips and just write in the chat box what the two teachers have in common. They're very different, but what do they both have in common? Let's see if you can guess. Let me see if I can get this to work.
My name is spelled D-A-D-I-E-R. It's pronounced da-dee. Whoever threw that, you'll never pitch for the Yanks, boy.
Whoever threw that, you'll never pitch for the Yanks, boy. In case you didn't catch that, that's what the teacher said in response to this misbehavior on the part of the students. Whoever threw that, you'll never pitch, you'll never throw for the Yanks, boy. Let's look at the second clip. What do they have in common?
Today we're going to be talking about William Shakespeare. I know, a lot of you look forward to this about as much as you look forward to root canal work. We're going to talk about Shakespeare as someone who writes something very interesting. Now, many of you have seen Shakespeare
Done very much like this. O Titus, bring your friend hither.
But if any of you have seen Mr. Marlon Brando...
No, but Shakespeare can be different. France, Romans, countrymen. Let me rest.
You can also imagine maybe John Wayne as Macbeth going, well, is this a dagger I see before me?
Okay. Pause. They both have in common one thing. There are many differences. And Maria and others, okay, say humor. Well, you guessed, because our subject is humor today. Somebody else says they're wearing a suit. Very, very funny. Love the second teacher's performing. They're kind of performers. The first one doesn't seem to be performing much, but what happens is that both have a kind of problem, a challenge. Misbehavior in the first clip, of course, students throwing things, and this has happened this year, I know, from personal experience, and how the teacher reacted to the misbehavior. And of course, in the second famous clip from Dead Poets Society, Robin Williams uses his voice to motivate the learners. He uses his voice to generate humor. He imitates. Remember at the beginning, we had a list of ways of being amusing, of using humor, and being able to mimic, to imitate voices is one way in which we can do that. The first teacher didn't imitate anybody, but he made a joke of the discipline problem. So his voice was involved, but it was involved in a humorous way. And the content of his reaction, of course, was humorous. You're not going to be a great football player or baseball player with a shot like that. So this is one way in which we can deal with discipline problems. Either getting very angry, and this is probably what the students want us to see, to make us angry, or we can keep our cool, Maria, to stay cool and use humor whenever we can. It's not always easy. So both teachers are good teachers in that respect. They know how to deploy humor to get students' attention and perhaps to control the class. The research now, I've given you some research into good teaching in the form of a multiple choice. Effective teachers, the research says, this is research which I will give you the reference to at the end. It's where teachers were observed and students were interviewed about their teachers, journals were involved, all kinds of ways of finding out what good teachers do. And I'll just give you a couple of examples of the results of the research. You have to choose. Did the effective teachers in this research demonstrate that they were good teachers because they talked a lot, they smiled, they shouted, they walked around a lot? We often hear, you know, it's good to walk rather than sit down. Okay, so in this particular example, the research said that effective teachers smiled more. This was based on observing them and the feedback from the students. So it doesn't always work, but a smile can go a long way, okay, when it's appropriate. You can obviously be serious at times as well. So smiling can help to engage learners, to get their attention. Effective teachers now, the research says, it's not my opinion, I'm reporting the research I read. They use technology more, they use testing techniques more, joking intonation, their voice. They gave a lot of homework. Of course, many different answers are possible, A, B, C, or D. C, they use joking intonation. Joking intonation. Well, you can guess because I'm leading you on to see that the research confirms that what we're doing today is a serious business. I call it the serious business of humor in the classroom, because it's a fundamental way in which we can engage learners. There are so many ways, of course, and everything we do is right. There are no mistakes as such, only ways of learning and improving what we do and continuing our teacher development, as one of you said earlier on. So thank you very much for this. So to sum up the research, a little puzzle for you. Why humor? Why is humor important to effective teaching? It does 4 things at least. And I've jumbled up the words for you, a little task which students can also engage in. Sort out the scrambled words, good for memory, says number 2. Thank you very much, Aphrodite, Laciano. Building rapport, says Safi. Thank you. Building rapport, reducing anxiety. Very good. And getting students' attention, you say. So there you are. These are, in a nutshell, 4 good reasons why humour is important according to the research, and probably your own common sense and experience. Building rapport, relationships with learners. It helps them remember things. We remember things which make us smile or laugh. Humour reduces anxiety. The affective filter, as Krashen says, is lowered. The message can go in, can be absorbed, can become language acquisition when we're not stressed, anxious. And it's one way of getting students' attention. We like to be entertained. So there you are. These are my themes. The examples I will go on to give you will illustrate how these 4 principles can be put into practice. I hope that's useful. There's a lot more we could say, but let's get on with some practical techniques. And let's begin at the beginning. For some people, language is grammar. Language acquisition is learning the grammatical system. Well, whether you agree or disagree or not, but let's begin with grammar, just for the sake of argument. And to kick off, a little joke, as humour is our subject today. Which word is missing? The past, the present, and the future. They walked into a bar. One word is missing, which gives us the so-called punchline. I can see some people writing words in the chat box. The atmosphere was tense. The atmosphere was complicated. The atmosphere was, yes, you've obviously seen this before. Well, I don't know what the answer is. We'll come back to it later. So remember this, because I'm going to check your answers at the end. Those of you who are joining in the chat box, I can see, how many people do we have? We have 93. I can't see 93 people using the chat box. I shall mark you down. So I'm noting who's participating and who isn't. And it's the time of year. So you better start participating. Let's go. Grammar. Corny jokes. Focusing on one aspect of grammar, I've chosen conditionals. I wonder if you can guess in these openings to the jokes, I'm going to reveal to you which words are missing. When we get married, we use something mirroring. It's kind of collocation. Which word for number 1 is missing? Ring collocates with give, get. Will you get me a ring? Will you give me a ring? Good, thank you. Number 2, if you found some money, would you, which word could go in this context? Would you keep it? Would you take it? Would you get it? Keep it. You find some money as you walk, do you take it to the police? What do you do with the money? If the baby wakes up at night, who? How would we finish this question? Number 3, who gets up? So if you have babies at home, this is a very important question. There you are, check your answers. The vocabulary, we're focusing on grammar. These are called corny jokes. They're terrible jokes. I don't apologize because that's the nature of these jokes, but they're terrible. So, will you give me a ring? If we get engaged to be married, would you keep the money? If the baby wakes up at night, who gets up? Now, one technique we can use is we split the question from the punchline. The answers, A, B, or C. Now you have to match number 1. Will you give me a ring? The punchline is A, B, or C for number 1. Let's focus on number 1. Yes, sure, what's your number? So this is playing with the expression, give me a ring. You can give someone a ring to call them on the telephone, or you can literally give them a ring. So it plays with language. So you're learning more meanings of the same word, if you didn't know it already. I'm talking to the students now. And keeping the money. Would you keep the money? The answer to this, of course, is number C. They're all puns. Yes, of course. No, I'd spend it. That's naughty. And of course, if the baby wakes up at night, who gets up? This can have 2 meanings. Well, it's an extensive meaning of get up, to get up from bed and to wake up, the whole neighborhood. Terrible jokes. But they may be memorable, you see, because they're humorous, because they're bad jokes. You think, oh, a terrible joke, but I remember the language. And that's what we want. And no gaps here. I'll give you the joke, the opening of the joke, and you have to match it with the answers. So, if the boat sank, who would you save, me or the children, darling? You look at the bottom for the punchline for number 1, who would you save? You would save, the answer is me, which is rather naughty, very selfish. If you were on the Titanic, who would you save, me or the children? Me, myself. If you dial this number 302-310-25892-720-205-609 555-449-173. Oh dear, what do you get? What do you get? Now the meaning of get. Get has so many meanings in English. You get, if you dial, you get a sore finger, of course, B, you see. So get has lots and lots of meanings. Students could have a whole course based on the word get, which has huge sections in every dictionary. Incredibly fertile word in the English language. So what would you do if you were in my shoes? I would polish them. So this is playing with language. And terrible though the jokes are, they may be memorable. But there are different ways of being humorous. Let's practice I've got. I'll give the students an example. They want to learn something about me. I'll try and do it in a humorous way. And this goes back to building rapport through humor, building our relationship with the learners and knowing about them and them knowing about us. So I'll give you 4 facts about me now, but one of these facts is false. 1, 2, 3, or 4. You have to write in the chat box which one of these things is not true of me, your presenter today. I've got 7 siblings, 7 brothers and sisters. I've got 3 children. Is this true? I've got a monkey. I've got 3 names. Now, not legal, says Katerina, to have a monkey. They're all false, are they? No. One of them is, I'm being honest with you. One of them is false. Well, they could all be false, obviously. And this is one way you see of, at a low level, learning the expression I've got, because it's humorous, it's about us, and therefore maybe more memorable. And of course, then the students can do the same. The correct answer is I've got 6 siblings. There are 7 of us all together in my family. But I'm number 3. There were 7 children altogether, not 8. Not 8. So that's, in this case, not true. But at the same time, you do learn that I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters. Now, I have got 3 children. You saw one of them in the photo earlier on, a handsome young man. I've got a monkey. I've got it here. I don't know if you can see my monkey. And I have got 3 names. I get very confused sometimes. Luke Prodromou, Lucas Michael, Kostas Michail, Kostas Prodromou. Oh dear, I could go on. It is very confusing. So you see my monkey, everybody? Can you see the monkey? I have got a monkey. It's not illegal. When I was a little boy, my very, very favorite toy was a monkey. And I lost the original. Katerina has got a pig. Well, I've got a little monkey. I'm going to use my little monkey now, the next activity. Okay. Vamos. There is my little monkey today. Looks very much like the one I had when I was 7 or 8 years old, in that picture with the curly hair. But how do I use this monkey? Well, first of all, let me ask you to tell me your favorite toy. Go back to when you were 7 or 8, like I am in that picture, my curly hair. Think of your childhood and think of a favorite toy. A teddy bear, says Miriam. Kudiva. A teddy bear, of course. Teddy bears have always been a popular doll, a bibibo. I remember bibibo from my children. A yellow bunny, says Maria Zervaki. Bibibo, teddy bears are very popular, and dolls. A Playmobil. Okay, some of you are hiding out there. There are 93 people out there. Don't know whether they're having coffee and pretending to be participating like students. So I'm glad I know now. Why do I want to know about your favorite toys? Because if you were my students I'll do the following activity, which I did with my own group. El Greco monkey, says Sunny Cavadan. Picasso had 23 monkeys. The things you learn when you do a webinar. So I said to my students, bring to class, they were primary, they were about 9, 10 years old. Bring to class a toy from your bedroom, which you don't need, but you're very fond of, but you don't need it anymore. You've outgrown it. And bring it to class and I'll keep it for this year. All right, and I collected the toys and I put them in a box or a bag, if you like. There they are, an example. And this is about making grammar memorable, building rapport. So there are the students. They've grown up now, so there's no personal data. They don't look like this anymore. You won't find them like this. But it was very interesting. I had this mixed bunch of students, pupils. Some were very well behaved, like the boy at the back, who's got the parrot. And the naughty boy in front of him with the monkey, Harry. You see, he had his monkey and he brought his monkey and he gave it to me. And there's little Kiki, very shy with her elephant. And they're all quite a mixed bunch, as always. And I wanted to make grammar memorable. I wanted them to behave because they were very naughty. So I thought, let me ask them to do this little trick using learner input. The input was their dolls, their toys, what they gave me to keep. And what I did was I just taught the grammar, whatever it was, whether it was simple present or describing people, describing routines, by shifting the focus from the student themselves. I mean, Harry, the little naughty boy, he may have been reluctant to talk about himself. So I would say, look, in the book now, we've just come to the bit about simple present or describing objects, people. So Harry, here's your monkey. Thank you for bringing it to class. Now tell us about your monkey. And so Harry can do it either in the first person. My name's Mickey. I'm brown. I eat bananas. You know, there's a banana. I thought I'd keep my banana ready just in case I was hungry or my little monkey friend was hungry. So you'll excuse me if I haven't had my breakfast yet, so I just had some coffee. I must be honest with you. I may get peckish. I mustn't faint before the end of this. So what we're doing then is engaging learners by connecting the stuff in the grammar book, the stuff in the textbook, with something very personal, which they've shared with us. They've willingly, as Maria Eleni says, caring and sharing. So they've given us something they care about, their monkey, their elephant, their aeroplane, their BB doll, whatever. And now they're talking through this device, through this object. It's mediating, it's a kind of mediating device, which bridges the gap between the learner and the language, between the learner and the textbook, between the learner and the teacher. It brings us closer together. It leads to greater language acquisition because this is language which is memorable, which is charged with personal feeling. I hope you agree. Okay, so that's just an example of using what the students bring to class. In this case, young learners, they brought their toys. With older learners, we could ask them to bring texts, to bring songs or whatever, and use them in class. Paintings that they like. It comes to the same thing. It's the principle, isn't it? Okay, everybody, is that all right? You can ask me questions about this later. So grammar and vocabulary can be all around us. Can be in our bedroom, can be in our classrooms, in our textbooks, as long as it reaches our mouths and becomes language acquisition. This is what we want. But in a more literal sense, grammar and vocabulary is all around us. Let's have a look at some language which is in our environment. So, on the internet, you'll find all kinds of strange notices where English as an international language is used in strange, humorous ways. But the important thing is that the message doesn't always get across, does it? So here we have some dry cleaners. Okay, can you all see the picture? Can you read what the caption says, the advertisement? Outside the dry cleaners, drop your pants here and you will receive prompt attention. This is a very interesting use of English as a lingua franca. But, Agapi, Milona, Irene, this is not the most efficient way to communicate the message. There's something which could go wrong, so you could make a laughing stock of yourself. It's an opportunity to practice language. So I would say to students, rewrite this to avoid, Katarina, the laugh out loud factor, the ambiguity. So what could we change to avoid making a ridiculous statement? Drop your patsy. Well, for example, I could ask the students and give them feedback. Once they've written their answers, I would say, look, here is a possible solution. Leave your trousers here and we will dry clean them promptly. Something like that, whatever. The important thing is to make language memorable, to make it humorous. And the world around us offers us many opportunities. Another one, would you like another one of these humorous notices? Shall I show you another one? Are you still there? Yes, please, says Maria. Thank you, Maria, for taking part. Okay, if you don't want any more, I've got plenty of other things to do. We're sorry. This is being on Facebook and the things you learn on Facebook, Anastasia. We're sorry, but the toilet is out of order. Please use floor below. Well, this is ambiguous, isn't it? Again, the toilet is out of order, just use the floor. Well, you'd get arrested, I suppose, it'd be very embarrassing. But again, it gives you an opportunity. There are so many of these notices to rewrite them using different words. Okay, and I won't ask you to do this, it's too much, unless you're a very fast writer. But please use the toilet on the floor below, because this one is out of order or whatever. Or the toilet is out of order, please use the toilet on the floor below. So we've avoided the ambiguity. But it's language, it's grammar in action. This is discourse. Discourse means language with meaning, language in interaction. Please use the toilet on the yes. On the yes. I don't get that, Katerina, never mind. Okay. And there are lots of these. Here's some more. You can give them sentences. Number one, if you think the service is bad, you should see the manager. Now, this brings a question of intonation into the discussion. It's not exactly what the speaker means to say. You should see the manager. Depends on how you say it. If you think the service is bad, you should see the manager. Intonation. Our wines leave you nothing to hope for. Well, this is more a question of vocabulary. Try our restaurant in the backside. I find this in Greece all the time. In the open air, when you have a taverna and a restaurant with a garden, the back part, so piso meros, el piso, it can come out as the backside. And some of you will know, who've been thumbing through the dictionary, that backside has naughty meanings as well. Let's cook grandma versus let's cook grandma. Yes, thank you very much. So we can correct the problem here. This is the problem. Think about how you would correct it to get the students first to have a go. They're picking up vocabulary, they're picking up grammar. So I suggest this is one solution. If you think the service is bad in this restaurant, you could go and see the manager. This is not ambiguous anymore. It doesn't suggest that the manager is bad, like the first one did. Our wines leave you completely satisfied, not nothing to hope for. Try our restaurant at the back. So at the back can't be confused with a part of the body. You agree? Kindly advise to see the manager, says Maria. So there you are, opportunities for humor, but opportunities for language practice and remembering language, the serious business of humor. Oh, I like these. A desk suitable for lady with thick legs and large drawers. Again, it's ambiguous. I've lost the picture. Oh dear. Okay. Ladies are requested not to have children in the bar. Guests are expected to complain in the office between 9 and 11 a.m. Well, we've seen how this works. You can identify the problem. Which words are a problem? Is it, in the first case, it's vocabulary, but word order as well. Pronunciation comes into it if you read them aloud. Ladies are requested not to bring children into the bar. Okay, so we've got rid of the ambiguity in the first one by changing the word order. A desk with thick legs and large drawers, suitable for a lady. That's okay now. So the drawers, you see, you will know has more than one meaning. Drawers in a desk like this one, or drawers as a synonym for a part of a lady's underwear. And to have a baby, of course, is ambiguous. To have a baby, to have children in the bar, to bring children into the bar is not ambiguous anymore. Guests may complain in the office between 9 and 11. Not ambiguous anymore. Okay, so these are public notices. Let's go on to pronunciation. You mentioned pronunciation. Let's pick it up now. And a joke for you. Can you think of the answer to this question? I want to be a schwa. Now, you all know what a schwa is in pronunciation. It's the most common vowel sound in English. Why would somebody want to be a schwa? Now, I've lost the chat box. Let me just find it again. There you are. It's smaller. There you are. It goes everywhere because it's never stressed, says Costas. It's always stressed. Well, so you want to be a schwa? Well, the answer is this most common vowel sound. If students can only learn to use the schwa properly, they will improve their pronunciation, at least the British and American model, no end. It's an incredibly common sound and very characteristic of the English language and its peculiar phonology, if you like, stress timed as opposed to syllable time, which is Greek, I think, Spanish. So let's look at the vowels then. So we're looking at ways of reducing anxiety and pronunciation. Our pronunciation when we speak a foreign language makes us feel anxious. I know when I hablo español, I know that my español is not muy natural. It's makes me feel a bit anxious and embarrassed. I'm using humor again to get attention. So let's look at an example of a technique. Oh, another public notice, which I saw the other day on Facebook. And let me just ask you now, talking about stress and the importance of stress. Here is a word, R-E-F-U-S-E. Now, where do we stress this word in this context? Look at the notice. R-E-F-U-S-E, to be stored in black plastic sacks and placed in the containers provided. In this word, R-E-F-U-S-E, which syllable do we stress? First or the second, one or two? So we can say refuse. Refuse in this context. Obviously, your English is very good. But the funny aspect of this is to pronounce it on the second syllable. Refuse. The consonant also changes. We have refuse, S, non-voiced, and the voiced refuse. Second syllable with a voiced consonant. So it's a lovely way to remind students of the importance of stress and pronunciation, or even minimal pairs, meanings which are distinguished by one sound. Okay? So, mistakes that students make with pronunciation. I used to be a Cambridge examiner in my wasted youth. I listened to so many candidates speaking. Hours and hours for years and years, I measured out my life in Cambridge oral interviews. And to keep myself awake and motivated, I was already a teacher trainer, I would make a note of the things the candidates said. They were mostly Greek students, but not exclusively, which were confusing because they pronounced the word wrongly. And both their pronunciation and the correct pronunciation produced the kind of meaning. I made a note of dozens of these authentic slips or errors, and I used them in various ways in class. Let me show you some examples and get you to participate. My question to you is, as you see what the students said, I give you a choice. I'm in a Cambridge interview now. It's about B2 level. I eat when I'm angry. I eat when I'm hungry. What did the student mean to say? Angry or hungry? I eat when I'm angry or I eat when I'm hungry. Both are possible. When I'm angry, menos, enfadado, I go to the fridge and I eat my favorite comfort food. Some people, you see, they eat on both occasions, but the student, of course, meant to say, I eat when I'm angry. I eat when I'm hungry, but it came out as angry. The Italians may also have a similar problem. Italians would say, yes, thank you very much, Maria, for Prodromou. I agree. Italian students and Greek students, and probably Spanish as well, have this problem. Another one, a big problem today is drunks. A big problem today is drunks. Beg your pardon, I'm sorry. What did you say? Is drunks or drugs? Of course, the answer is drugs. But it sounded like drunks, and it's possible. We do have a problem. Young people today drinking, you know, after 1 year of COVID, they go and get into drugs perhaps, and they get drunk. Yes, indeed. I love this one. I keep fit by jogging. I keep fit by jogging. I beg your pardon? How do you keep fit? Both are possible, especially Maria Zervaki, given our subject today. It's bloody good for you, you know, joking and having a sense of humor. My mouth stays fit by joking. So the student meant to say jogging, but it sounded like joking, and I thought, that's a nice idea. I like it. I like laughter. I like humor. It's so important to our general mental and physical health, which is what we're doing today. You're staying with me today. Are you still with me? Yes, we have 100 participants today. We've hit a century. This is doing you good, your health. If nothing else, I hope you will go away healthier than before today. No extra charge, it's free. He was lying, a classic, of course. You know this. Lying on the beats, the short vowel and the long vowel. Beats. Beats. We have another problem with the consonant here in Greek. But I was lying on the beach, lying on the beats. She's hugging the dog, she's hanging the dog. They're looking at the picture, and in the picture they can see a woman and a dog. What is the woman doing? She's hanging the dog. Hanging. Hung. The vowel, the consonant, nasalization produce two possible answers. And I wasn't quite sure what she meant. Well, obviously she meant hugging the dog, but it sounded like hanging. And you don't want to say that. You mean hugging. So I think this is nasalization. Hanging on her neck. The dog must be hanging on her neck, says Costa. Possibly. My father beat me. My father beat me. Well, this is terrible when children get abused by their parents. But of course, beat is the correct answer. So this is what I collected as I was listening to those students of mine, whether in class or in a Cambridge interview. The girl is sitting on a sofa. Chausseur in Greek is often misused, and we get a change of meaning. The girl is sitting on a chauffeur, lucky old chauffeur. And lucky old Bottoms here, he gets money by pressing buttons. I beg your pardon, what did you say? Your father gets money by pressing buttons. Pressing buttons. Buttons. He's a computer, you know, not a technician perhaps. So, buttons, one of my favorites. Okay, so what can we do with these in class? Eating hot dung, nasalization again, or hot dog. I eat hot dong. I beg your pardon. He makes me laugh. This was a Spanish student. He makes me laugh. Laugh. He makes me laugh. So what I did in class with these, my favorite was stand-up comedy. But you can do it as sit-down comedy as well. I write the two possibilities on slips of paper. I eat when I'm angry, I eat when I'm hungry. I give them out to the students. So they've all got a little slip, but it's the one half. They go in pairs. So I say, read aloud exactly what is on your slip. Don't change it in any way. So one student says he gets money by pressing buttons. Who's got the other half? Let's hear it. Listen carefully. This gets them listening to each other. And read out the other half. And the students, the class, have to say number 1 or number 2, which is correct. He gets money by pressing buttons. That's number 2. He gets money by pressing buttons. Number 1. And they put their hands up. Number 1, everybody. Number 2. So there you go. So this is one way of doing it. They can learn or read what is on their slip, and they can get up and find their partner. That's the stand-up comedy version. You don't want them to stand up and cause discipline problems, never get them to sit down again. They can do it sitting down. You just say, read what is on your slip, or even better, say it without looking. So you learn chunks of English. That's how it works, okay? That's one way in which we can do it. We can just give them a list of mistakes and do error correction if you like. But it's much better if you get them to participate. Keep them busy. Keep their idle hands busy. Slips may be ambiguous too. Give us the slip. Indeed. The English language, like all languages, is full of ambiguity, and we're making the most of it. Talking about pronunciation, let's go on to another funny way of practicing pronunciation. I love tongue twisters, and oddly enough, tongue twisters contain a lot of the pronunciation problems that we teachers focus on. So if you were using a tongue twister like this, which sounds in your language, whether it's Greek, Italian, or Georgian, which vowels or consonants does this particular tongue twister lend itself to? I'll read it for you. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. Where's the peck of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked? Okay, thank you, Katarina, but answer the question now. Which sounds can we practice? Get the students to read these aloud, if they can, and they will laugh or smile. It doesn't matter if they get it wrong. The important thing is that they're practicing which sounds. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. Where's the peck of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked? Which vowel can we practice here? Come on. I'm looking at the chat box. I can't go on till I see the answer. The I sound. E, the E sound, yes. Yeah, well, if you look, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. A Greek would say pepper, pepper. Where's the peck of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked? The schwa is everywhere, as we said. This is a wonderful schwa activity, but it's also good for PB. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. Try again and observe the schwa. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. We could be like Henry Higgins in what you call it, Eliza Doolittle, Pygmalion. Let's practice our pronunciation if we think it's important for students to get it right. This is an amusing way of doing it. One nice task is to give them the question, how many schwas? Now that we've introduced them to the little schwa, and I recommend that the students should know what the schwa is because it's everywhere in the language. So they could go through counting. I won't ask you to do it now, but Betty Butter had some butter. But she said, this butter's bitter. If I bake this bitter butter, it would make my batter bitter. But a bitter, better butter, that would make my batter bitter, better. You see, they would say, Betty Butter had some butter. And butter sounds like batter, you see. It shouldn't. But she said, this butter is bitter. If I bake this bitter butter, it would make my butter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my butter better. Well, we have a long way to go, as you can see. And there are amusing, harmless ways of practicing. The most classic Greek problem, at least, is the sh. And they tell me the Athenians suffer from this. Southerners in Greece have a difficulty with sh. She sells seashells by the seashore. Okay, very famous. So if she sells seashells on the seashore, then I'm sure she sells seashells. So she sells by the seashore. If she sells on the seesaw, then I'm sure she sells seesaw. Says. Well, as you can see, we have a long way to go. Let's leave vocabulary. Thank you very much. I'm sure there are lots of techniques you use that you can suggest. Let's move on. Time passes. Memorable chunks, learning collocations. It can only be done through practice, through exposure, through holistic learning. And what kind of things do we remember? How can we learn lexical chunks in a natural, motivating way? Well, one thing people remember is quotations. People remember things famous people have said, Oscar Wilde, whoever. Here are lots of quotes. For example, look at them. There are 8 of them. Which one do you like? Write a number from 1 to 8. This will get you to read. Read and write a number. They're all quotations about laughter, about humor. Which one do you like? Choose one. Number 7, says Maria. A smile is the shortest distance between 2 people. It's a nice one. I like the wordplay on smile. Mile, smile. Number 7 is a very popular one. People who laugh a lot live longer. We've said this today. You're attending this webinar, I'm sure will make you live at least 5 minutes longer. No extra charge. So laughter is the best medicine. They're similar. And you can have discussions about these. So the first thing, Irini likes all of them, is to get students to read them, get them to learn them. And in learning the quotation, which is a natural thing, we love to show off that we know what Palamas said, what Solomos said. Famous quotations from poets, from literature, from proverbs, and so on. It's a great way of learning vocabulary, okay? And a good way of picking up, lexical chunks, collocations. Another way of doing this is with gaps, okay? How would you finish number 1? Which word is missing? There's a couple of possibilities. Laughs best, says Maria. Yeah, there are other possibilities. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Weep and you weep. Number 2, you weep alone. And this is revision. We've done this. Number 3, laughter is the best medicine. There's nothing in the world as contagious as number 4. Which is contagious? What is contagious? Anybody for number 4? Any offers? COVID. Laughter. You're naughty. COVID is contagious, unfortunately. But we're trying to replace COVID with humor today. And those are your answers. Well done. So we can learn quotations. We can discuss quotations. We can fill the gaps. All the things we teachers do. We can give them famous people, even if they don't know them. Efkirian Atamathan, chance to learn. Bernard Shaw, Jane Austen, Dickens, Hepburn, the actress. Okay, this is a collocation practice. I've gapped words which, let me see now. If you want to something people the truth, make them laugh, otherwise they'll kill you, says Bernard Shaw. You don't have to agree with this now, but you're looking at the collocation. Which word goes with truth? Which verb goes with truth? From Bernard Shaw's quotation. So here you're learning collocation, but at the same time, I don't see any answers to number 1, which goes with truth. If you want to, number 1. I'm waiting. Perhaps my chat box has stopped working. Yes.
It's tell. That's what they say.
Well, okay. I can't see the answers for some reason. Oh, yes, they're coming back now. Okay. If you want to tell people the truth, make them. Is everything okay, Eleni? Can I carry on?
Yeah, most of them go with tell.
Yes. Tell the truth. Very good. I'm the happiest creature in the world, says Jane Austen. She smiles. So guess what she might say in this famous quotation. There's nothing in the world as contagious as, well, you've done this. Number 3 from Charles Dickens, who was an expert in making people laugh. Yes, I love people who make me laugh, says Audrey Hepburn. I honestly think it's the thing I like most, to laugh. It cures a multitude of, what do you, cure goes with what noun? It's probably the most important thing in a person, says Audrey Hepburn. Doesn't matter if they don't know these people, it's language we're practicing. Okay? And learning chunks of language, collocations, to tell people the truth, smiling and laughing, contagious laughter, contagious illness, and ills, to cure an ill, to cure a disease, and so on. This brings us to idioms, because idioms are kind of chunks of language, aren't they? But they have a cultural dimension, which makes them difficult to learn if you're not a native speaker. Now, think about idioms. We teachers know a lot about idioms. Which is the most famous English idiom of all? Number one, that when you say English idioms, everybody says, oh, yes, I know a famous English idiom. Can anybody write the most famous English idiom? I'm looking at the chat box. A famous English idiom. Do I have to give you a clue? Think of an English idiom. If you want to illustrate idioms to your students, what do you say? Have you stopped writing? You stopped talking to me?
No, they are writing. They keep writing.
I can't see that. Yes, I don't know why they've disappeared. I think
Many ideas.
yeah.
Piece of cake, silver lining.
Raining, I can see raining cats and dogs. Thank you. That's what I wanted. There we are. There you are. Raining cats and dogs is the most quoted idiom. It's not the most common. People don't say it that often nowadays. It's a bit old-fashioned, but you can still hear it. But you often hear people changing the idioms. Like I heard somebody saying it's raining kittens and puppies in order to say it wasn't raining a lot, just raining a little bit. So they're playing with the language. Now, our students' problem is actually learning idioms if we want them to. We can expose them to them because they seem to be interesting, even if they're not very common. But native speakers do use them quite a lot. Mon ami, says Hercule Poirot. What is the correct idiom? He's made a mistake. We have been on a wild gooseberry chase, he says. We have been. There should be just one bean. We have been on a wild gooseberry chase. I apologize for the two beans. And the correct answer, of course, is a wild goose chase. And there's something amusing when people get them wrong. It may help to make them more memorable. They're a challenge, and we can use pictures, of course, to help them remember the idiom, to go on a wild goose chase. And what does it mean? Exactly. This is the problem, that the words don't seem to mean what they say. And of course, it's to waste your time on something which is not achievable, to go on a wild goose chase. So idioms can be a source of humor. Do you know these? Let me give you a little test. Are you ready for the test? Okay, I've given you 6 idioms here, and a word is missing. And I want you to try and write the word for number 1. A complete different kettle of fish, some people say, fishes. To pull someone's leg. It's just a storm, you know. Number 3, storm in a cup, teacup. I'm glad to see the back. Well, there's more than one word there. To turn someone, number 5, to turn someone, we need a particle or preposition. Number 5, to turn someone over. That's possible. The wonderful thing about phrasal verbs is that they have so many possible meanings, so many. To put your foot. Now, which preposition is here? To put your foot. I've given you the answer. How foolish. But anyway, what happens when students try to use idioms? I don't recommend that you push idioms onto students because they can be notoriously difficult. You should hear my Greek idioms and my Spanish non-existent idioms. When I try to use them, I get them wrong. Okay, here are the students now saying something which is not quite correct. How can we correct these failed idioms? Are you ready? Number 1. So the problem here is which word. It's not what the student should have said. This is no longer an English idiom. I learned how to make Turkish coffee easily, but Italian espresso was a completely different kettle of fishes. Which word is wrong? Well, fishes is not correct. You're right, Maria. If you make this word plural, it ceases to be an idiom and it becomes a literal expression where you see actual fishes in the mind, not the idiom itself, which means something is a different case, it's a different story. But we don't want to say fishes because it makes the whole thing literal. When the new cook started work, Basil was always pulling his legs. Now, if the idiom is going to work, you must change one word here. Of course, you cannot say to pull legs, only one leg, to pull someone's leg. And you can use pictures like these. I got this from a book, which is probably in the bibliography. Mrs. Johnson said she was glad to see Pablo's back. Now, the phrasal chunk there, the noun, Pablo's back, means one thing. And the idiom, to see the back of Pablo, means something else. If you're glad to see the back of somebody, you change the word order, it means I'm glad somebody has gone. I don't want to see them. I don't like them. But if you see Pablo's back, you see his back literally. So this is not what we want. So this is a noun phrase. A storm in a cup of tea. It sounds perfect English, doesn't it? But it's not correct. You don't say it's a storm in a cup of tea. You have to say it's a storm in a teacup. Thank you, Costa. And if you say a cup of tea, it becomes literally gyrolectica, a cup of tea, which is not what we want. Raffaella was having an argument with her sister when she suddenly turned me on. Well, this could be correct. If you really want to say turn someone on, what do you do when you turn someone on? This man in the picture has been turned on by Raffaella with her sister. Yes, Raffaella turned him on. Yes, Caterina. To turn on somebody, Costa, is correct. You turn on somebody, you shout at them, you attack them in some way verbally. She turned on me. She turned on me. She attacked me. She criticized me. But if you say turn someone on, it means to sexually blah, blah, blah. I don't want to be rude. It has a sexual meaning, to arouse, Costa, which is, okay, the students should know these things, especially turning people on. They're very interested in turning people on, our students, and being turned on. And this is very common, of course, to put your foot in it, to put your foot on it. If you say on it, it's not an idiom, is it? You have to put your foot in it. These tiny little words, prepositions, I love them, and particles, they can have such a powerful effect on meaning. And this, talking about phrasal verbs, we can use phrasal verbs in jokes, as we're talking about humor, to make them more memorable. As we said, humor gets attention, and jokes are things we like to remember. Doctor, doctor, I can't sleep at night. And how does the doctor respond? Sleep on the edge of the bed and you have the choice. Hold up, drop off, fall out, pick up. Notoriously, phrasal verbs are common, unlike colorful idioms. They're common and they have so many meanings. We must find ways to make them memorable. And these corny jokes, one way of doing it. Why do birds in a nest always agree? Well, because they don't want to hold up, drop off, fall out, pick up. Notice they all have more than one meaning. So it's a great way of learning vocabulary and these very common phrasal verbs, but notoriously difficult. What training do you need to be a refuse collector? Here we have that word again, refuse, not refuse, refuse collector, rubbish, trash. Oh, none, you don't need any training. You just, anybody for number 3? It's the correct answer for number 3. Just see if you're still there, still awake. Number 3, Costa, you've filled them all in. Number 3 is A, B, C, or D. you pick up. Yeah. Why are my favorite? One of the first corny jokes I ever learned is number 4. Why are traffic police strong? Because they hold up. Let's have a look. Hold up the traffic. There you are, using jokes for phrasal verbs. Thank you for participating, those of you who are still there. Okay, let's look at jokes. I don't know if you've ever done this with jokes. This is dictation. Dictation is great for discipline. I hope you agree. I don't mean being a dictator, which can be good for discipline, but dictating as a technique. Listen and write. But what we usually ask them to listen and write is from the textbook or whatever, and it's not particularly interesting or memorable, perhaps. But jokes can be used for dictation, and a very original kind of dictation, to make language more memorable through humor, through lexical chunks, is this activity. Listen and write the correct number. Well, the online version, which I'm going to do with you now, means that you just write a number. In class, I would get students to write the whole phrase I'm going to dictate. So here is what the students get. They get a handout which has the first part of a joke, which in this case happens to be a question. Okay, how do you know when there's an elephant under your bed? What do you usually get on your birthday? Doctor, why does everyone keep ignoring me? What kind of milk does a nervous cow give? When is it bad to have a cat following you? You can get them to guess the answer. It's not easy. That's the whole point of corny jokes. Doctor, I think I'm getting smaller. What can I do? Okay, they're all questions. So question formation. Give them to the class, get them to read them, get them to practice forming questions. Now I'm going to dictate the punchline. And you have to write, if you're my students, the punchline in the correct box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Here, you just write the number. So if I say, for example, you'll just have to be a little patient. You'll just have to be a little patient. The correct answer is it number 4? What kind of milk does a nervous cow give? You'll just have to be a little patient. Does it make sense? It has to make sense. Doctor, I think I'm getting smaller. What can I do? You'll just have to be a little patient. So you see, wait till I read for you the correct answers, the punchline, and then write your number. You're being a bit impatient, everybody. What if I say this expression? 2 words. Which question does it go with? Next, please. Next, please. Number 3. Yes. Doctor, why does everyone keep ignoring me? Next, please. You see, it's a joke. Terrible joke, but never mind. What do you get on your birthday? Can you guess the answer? Let me give you the answers. This is called joke dictation, and it works like this. At the end of the dictation, the students will have the answers. It doesn't matter if they don't think they're funny. The worse they are, the better. Okay, and then when they've completed their dictation, we can check for accuracy, if you like, and then you get them in pairs to do the question and answer. So it's controlled speaking. You see how it works? So we begin with dictation, which tends to quieten the students down. Okay, just checking the time. And then get them to practice speaking. They can laugh if they like. They don't laugh if they don't want to. And vice versa. The reverse of this is you give them the answers. And because questions are more difficult in English than answers, students find it very difficult to produce a correct question because of the word order and auxiliary verbs and so on. So it's good to do it the other way around. You give them the answer. And you can do this as revision now, of course, but you can do it as a dictation, as I said. And you can read out the question, okay, and get them to match, to write the question next to the correct answer. So how do you know when there's an elephant under your bed? They write it for number 1. your nose touches the ceiling. So we've done it the other way around, this second version of the joke dictation, as I call it. And you can do this as we did the pronunciation pairs. You can get them to do it as stand-up comedy, where they go around the class and find their partners. One student has the question, the other has the answer. They can do this sitting down, they can do it standing up, walking around if you want to give them some kinesthetic practice, moving their little bodies, because they say we learn better when our mind and our body are engaged. You can do this as gap filling as well. I can give you the worksheet and we can work on the gaps together. Okay, so I don't know if you want to have a little go here. One example. Number one, you've got the correct answer. Yes, it's only the guests who are noisy. And the question is, are the rooms here? What's the word? You have to look at the answer for number one. Are the rooms here? Yes. Quiet. Yes, it's only the guests who are noisy. Do these ships sink? No, only once. What's the word? An adverb, which is missing for number two. Do these ships sink often? No, only once. So there you go. Doctor, I think I'm getting smaller. We've seen this one. Okay. How can you be homesick? Kitalipa. What's happened? Have I gone back? Oh, I've gone back. I didn't mean to do that. There we are. So this is another way of using jokes for gap filling and then paired practice, sitting down or standing up. So I call this stand-up comedy and sit-down comedy. And here's lots more. You can have copies of these. I can make the PowerPoint available. So you can have these jokes ready-made, but you can find them in books, which I can recommend. And you just split them up into two pairs and do all kinds of things with them, either listening and writing, speaking, memorizing, working on vocabulary, and so on. So I won't bore you with more of these, but you've seen lots of examples of pedagogically making the most of jokes. To finish almost, we're nearly finished, cartoons. 4 cartoons. We ask the students to write a caption. A, B, C, or D. Choose a cartoon and write what you think the caption might be. Well, I've given you 2 of them already. So you should remember, if you were here at the beginning, B and C. Can you remember what the boy in B was saying? Can you write it just to see if you were paying attention? In B, you've seen this one before. What is the boy asking the teacher? Can I be excused? Thank you very much. And of course, you know C as well. C, the guy with the computer. That's a portrait of me, cleverly disguised. Number C, you see. So I can ask the students to come up with a caption. Okay, so for A, what could this person be saying? What is she saying? Look at D, what are they saying? They're all cartoons I came across this year of COVID. What we can do is match the caption with the cartoon. So this is another variation. If it's too difficult to produce captions, we can give them the captions and they match them with the pictures. So you can see what D is now, possibly. What is the mother saying to the child? You see? So write a caption, match the caption with the cartoon. What else can we do? Let's elicit a story now. Let's make a story from this picture. Any picture. Who are the 2 people in the picture? There are 2 people in this picture. Can you see it? Choose their roles. What is their relationship? Wife and husband, mother and child, a mother and child reunion. Yes, it's a possibility. Let's see, we elicit. They come up with a possible context. Part of the context is the roles of the people in the story. So let's say it's mother and child. Let's see. Is it? I got stuck here. My computer's decided to conk out. Oh dear, oh dear. Close the program. No, we don't. What is the woman saying? Okay, so we've got the pictures now. Who are the two people? What is she saying then? Let's say you say, it's the mother. Get out of bed and go to school. You're the teacher, says Costas. Stop cheating. There's always a student who knows everything. And I've got Costas' ad here. Where are you from, Costa? You naughty know-all student. Spoiling my story. Now get up quick. Okay, so this is Costas here, Costas' ad from Rethymnon, just down the road from here. I must see you and tell you off personally, because this is called spoiling the punchline. But anyway, it's good to have good students in your class. So what she's saying is actually, I'll give you now, I've elicited from you, and I'll say what the actual caption says. I know the kids don't like you, and they pick on you. This is great for bullying topics, isn't it? And Rethymnon is well known now, thanks to Frederick and his bullying activities or anti-bullying activities. I know the kids don't like you and pick on you. Phrasal verbs, you see, to pick on. But what? What is the next phrase going to be? Well, somebody knows all of the answers here, but we're eliciting now. But write your answers. I know the kids don't like you and pick on you, but what? You're the, Aredi, you've seen the cartoon as well. You have to go to school. I want to teach them have to. You have to. You must go to school. You are the headmaster. Get your butt off the bed. You're the teacher is the original. But we've elicited students' own versions. That's okay. So we're writing a little story, a little dialogue even. You can make a dialogue out of this. And then after they've constructed the dialogue with your help, you get them to practice in pairs. So the actual joke says, I don't want to go to school. Why? The kids don't like me, but you're the teacher, of course. So to finish then, that was cartoons. I've kept you long enough. I'm going to show you a video clip. You've been such a good class. I'm going to show you a quick video clip, and I want you to just write one thing you could do in class with this video clip. Are you right? Are you ready? So just one task for the students, and this will be the last activity we do. Are you ready? Here's a video clip. We can do all kinds of things with video clips, as we can do with comic sketches, which I mentioned right at the beginning. Comic sketches, and there are books of comic sketches that you can use to perform with the students. And this video clip I'm going to give you could be something that you perform with the students if you take the script. Okay, let's see this, the video clip. Enjoy the video clip now, as I ask you one thing you could do. Are you ready?
You see, I speak English well. I learn it from a book. Hello, I am English. Hello. How are you, sir? I can speak English. Hello, Major. How are you today? I'm fine, thank you. It's a beautiful day today. Is it? Oh, yes, I suppose it is. Yes, I can speak English. I learned it from a book. Did you? Did you really? Oh, there you are, Forty. Yes, I'm just going to open up, Major. Oh, fine. I say that's a remarkable animal you have there, Forty. Where did you get it? Samson's in the town. Really? Well, was it expensive? £12, I think.
Okay. I would just use a short clip. It's enough. We may get to see it again, but things we can do. I've given you an idea here that they look at the picture and answer these questions. You can give them the pre-questions: where, who, what, why. Where does the scene take place? What would you write for this? Where is this happening? This wonderful little clip from Fawlty Towers, which some of you recognized. Yes, Katarina, it's in a hotel. You may have seen it. Students may have seen it. That's okay. We're focusing on the language now. you see. We could do gap filling exercises, as we shall see. But these are the pre-questions. Who are the people in the picture? Who is this guy? I mean, you don't have to know his name. What's his job? Yes, he's a receptionist in a hotel. What is he doing? What is he doing? More difficult, more open-ended question, you see. And why? And there's a guest in the picture as well, the old man, the major. Why? And so on. It's just an example of WH questions, which you're very familiar with. A focus task now, we could play it again and say, how many people can you see in the episode? How many animals are there? Where is the animal from? Explain the misunderstanding. That's more extensive. You see what I mean? So he's practicing his language skills, this guy. How many people are there in the story? They have to pay attention, obviously. This is pretty basic. And the animal. Where is the animal from? Were we told where the animal was from? This moose, is it? Well, Basil Fawlty, the hotel owner, I think mentions where the animal is from. But this is just an example. You mentioned, okay, people, I have to be leaving soon, so I'm nearly finished. This is the last episode of my presentation. Gap filling, of course, there's the dialogue, which we can perform, as I said. Comic sketches, this is a comic sketch. You can do an extract after we've done our gap filling, focusing on language, focusing on grammar and collocations, okay? And performing the dialogue. And then extending the dialogue for homework, if you like, or in groups. There you go. So a lot of these ideas you will find at my good friend Nick Michael Eudakis's YouTube channel called Comedy for ELT. Nick is very generous in giving us not only an abundant number of video clips like this, but lesson plans to go with it as well, to go with each video clip. And some of you will know Nick's YouTube channel. There is the detail. There is a screenshot from his channel, Comedy for ELT. And as you can see, he gives you worksheets which you can download for free. So he's a very generous man. I think he's gone home to take his mother somewhere. He always uses this excuse when he goes to see his girlfriend, but we won't, that's between you and me, that's our secret. Don't tell Nick. Okay, so this is Nick's Comedy for ELT. If you want humor and good listening practice, good listening comprehension and productive activities, the worksheets are there. It's a great way to continue what we started today. I gave you a taste of what we can do, a number of things, from using our voice at the beginning to get the students' attention, to make our voice humorous. I gave you a little test to engage you, and you gave me your answers. Now we can check your answers. The past, the present, and the future walked into a bar. The atmosphere was tense, is the correct answer. So we began and we ended with a little joke about grammar. And this is what we've been focusing on. The importance of humor in building rapport, positive relationships with our students. The key factor of memory. If you don't remember, how can you acquire a language? So it's good for memory. It reduces anxiety, as the research tells us. And it helps us to get the students' attention and hopefully keep it. So most of you are still here. Some of you I know had to rush off to the beach. But anyway, thank you for being with me. I hope all the things we've been doing today, and many of the other things we haven't had time for today because our subject was humor, that it will want to make students say this. Those of you who speak Greek, for our non-Greek speakers, can you write what the child is saying? Θέλω να πάω σχολείο. For the non-Greeks in the audience today, what is the boy saying? In a translation activity, Katerina says, I want to go to school. And if we can make students say, I want to go to school, not run away from school, then we're getting somewhere. I know it's difficult and discipline problems are legion, but all we can do is keep trying every trick in the book. And if humor is one of them, all I've said is let's use the humor. And here are my references. We can get them to you through Eleni Poulam. And there are lots of things you can read. I would recommend, of course, Michael Diagis's YouTube channel, Peter Medjus's wonderful book, Laughing Matters, and so on. So that's available for you. So thank you very much, everybody. That's me performing here in Hanya, I think 6 years ago now. And thank you, Hanya, for inviting me to Crete in the first place many years ago. And thank you to Eleni Poulam for inviting me to do this webinar today. I hope you're still awake. Thank you, Nick. I thought you'd gone home. I thought you'd gone to Bunbury, but you're still here. Thank you, Eleni. Over to you, Eleni. I don't know if there are any questions or everybody's totally exhausted.
Speechless. Yes. Okay.
You can
Look.
put your video on so we can see you, if you like.
Yeah, I've done it already. I can see myself. Can't you see me?
Let me just diminish this. I can't see you, but I'm no use at this. I can see you now. That's
okay.
great.
So
I can stop recording now. I can pause the recording. I'm about to stop the recording. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. Over to